The morning air tasted of exhaust and resentment as Rhea pulled her threadbare hood. Lower over her golden curls, even covered, wisps of shimmering hair escaped, catching the light like spun metal and drawing exactly the kind of attention she desperately wanted to avoid. Her pale blue skin, visible on her hands and the lower portion of her face, marked her as clearly as a neon sign in this sea of human flesh tones. Just keep moving, she told herself, clutching the empty canvas bag that had once held her few possessions. 3 days without food, 2 nights sleeping in the alley behind the electronics store. The owner had chased her away this morning with threats to call immigration services. The Central Market District buzzed with activity, vendors hawking their wares, shoppers bargaining over prices, children darting between stalls. But wherever Rhea walked, conversations died. Eyes followed her, phones appeared, recording her passage like she was some exotic animal that had wandered into civilization. Look, it's one of those Velinari, a woman whispered to her companion, not bothering to lower her voice. Probably here legally. They should ship them all back where they came from. Rhea's hands trembled as she gripped her bag tighter. Back where? Her home world was a radioactive wasteland now, consumed by the same war that had scattered her people across the galaxy. Like seeds on barren ground, Earth was supposed to be sanctuary. Instead, it felt like another kind of prison. She approached a fruit vendor, summoning courage she didn't feel. Excuse me, sir. Do you have any work? I can carry boxes, clean stalls, anything. The man's face twisted with disgust. We don't hire aliens. Move along before you scare away my customers. He turned to the woman beside him. See what I mean? They're everywhere now, taking jobs from honest humans. Heat flushed through Rhea's blue cheeks as she backed away, bumping into a young mother pushing a stroller. The woman jerked her child away as if Rhea carried some contagious disease. Watch where you're going, alien freak. Rhea stumbled backward, into the street, tears blurring her vision. The honking of a horn made her look up, but it was too late. The delivery truck, its driver distracted by his phone, barreled through the red light at full speed. The impact launched her small frame through the air like a broken doll. She hit the asphalt hard, golden hair splaying around her head like a halo as her blue blood began seeping through torn fabric. Pain exploded through every nerve ending, but consciousness clung to her with cruel persistence. A crowd gathered quickly. Phones appeared again, but now they were recording her suffering instead of her otherness. Holy shit, did you see that? Someone call 911. Is it dead? Just another alien. Probably didn't have insurance anyway. Through the haze of agony, Rhea watched feet shuffle closer, then farther away. Voices grew distant. She tried to speak, to call for help, but only managed a weak whimper. The world was starting to fade when she heard boots approaching, steady, purposeful steps that stopped right beside her head. A man's voice, rough with emotion but infinitely gentle. Hey there. Can you hear me? She managed to flutter her eyes open. A human face looked down at her, weathered, kind, with grease stains on his work shirt and concern etched deep in his brown eyes. His 2 hands hovered over her, uncertain but wanting to help. My name's Liam, he said softly. You're gonna be okay. I've got you now. I'm not leaving. As sirens wailed in the distance and the crowd continued to thin, Liam Cross knelt in her blood on the cold asphalt, the only person in a city of millions who had decided she was worth staying for. The first hospital's receptionist didn't even look up from her screen. We don't treat non-humans. Try the veterinary clinic on 5th Street. Liam's jaw clenched as he adjusted Rhea's unconscious form in his arms. Blue blood had soaked through his work shirt, but he held her carefully, protectively. She's not an animal. She's a person who needs help, sir. I'm going to have to ask you to leave before I call security. The second hospital at least let them through the doors before turning them away. Our insurance doesn't cover alien medical procedures, the administrator explained with practiced indifference. Legal liability issues. You understand. Rhea stirred weakly in his arms, golden curls matted with blood, and whispered something in her native language that sounded like a prayer, or maybe a goodbye. Please, Liam begged. She's dying. I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do. By the time they reached Metro General, Liam's arms ached and desperation clawed at his throat. The emergency room was crowded, fluorescent lights harsh overhead. He approached the triage nurse with what felt like his last hope. "Please," he said simply, "help her." Nurse Patricia Reeves looked up from her charts and saw something that made her pause. Not the alien woman bleeding in his arms, but the human man who had refused to let her die alone. She'd been working emergency rooms for 20 years, and she recognized the look of someone who would fight the world for a stranger. "What's her name?" Patricia asked quietly. "Rhea." "Her name is Rhea. And you are Liam Cross. I found her after the accident. Everyone else just walked away." Patricia studied Rhea's pale blue face, the way her chest rose and fell in shallow breaths. Then she looked at Liam's determined expression and made a decision that would change everything. "Room 7, she said, grabbing a wheelchair. "Dr. Martinez is on duty. He won't ask questions he doesn't need answers to." The next 72 hours, blurred together in a haze of beeping monitors, whispered consultations, and Liam's constant presence. He slept in the uncomfortable plastic chair beside Rhea's bed, his large frame folded awkwardly, but refusing to leave. He brought her flowers, yellow daisies from the hospital gift shop, because they reminded him of her golden hair. He talked to her unconscious form, telling her about his work at the auto shop, about the sunset he'd seen that morning, about anything that might call her back from the darkness. "The doctors say you're strong," he murmured on the second night, his voice hoarse from exhaustion. "Stronger than they expected. Your people, the Villinari. You're tougher than you look." He reached out hesitantly, then gently brushed a curl away from her forehead. Her skin was warm, softer than he'd imagined. "I don't know why I stayed. I couldn't leave you there alone." Dr. Martinez found him there the next morning, head tilted back against the chair, finally asleep. The older man had seen many things in his career, but the sight of this grease-stained mechanic maintaining vigil over an alien stranger touched something deep in his chest. "How is she?" Liam asked, instantly alert as the doctor approached. "Stable. The internal bleeding has stopped, and the bone fractures are healing remarkably well. Her species has impressive regenerative capabilities." Dr. Martinez checked Rhea's chart. "She's lucky you found her when you did. Another few minutes but she'll be okay. She'll live. Whether she'll walk again without assistance is another matter. The spinal trauma was significant." Liam nodded, relief and worry warring in his expression. Can I keep staying with her?" Dr. Martinez smiled. "I don't think we could make you leave if we tried. But Mr. Cross, when she wakes up, she's going to be confused, frightened. Your people haven't exactly given her reasons to trust humans. I know. I'll be patient." That afternoon, Nurse Patricia brought Liam coffee and a sandwich from the cafeteria. "You know, in 20 years of nursing, I've never seen dedication like this," she said, settling into the visitor chair. "Why her? Why risk everything for someone you don't even know?" Liam stared at Rhea's peaceful face, the way her blue skin seemed to glow in the afternoon light filtering through the window. "I keep thinking about that moment when I saw her lying there. Everyone was watching, filming, talking about her like she was some kind of spectacle. But when I looked at her face," he paused, struggling for words, "she just looked so alone. And I thought, what if that was me? What if I was hurt and scared, in some foreign place, and everyone just walked away? You could have called an ambulance and left. Could I?" Liam shook his head. "I don't think so. Something about her, I can't explain it. It's like I was supposed to be there, like she was supposed to be my responsibility." Patricia studied him with knowing eyes. "Or maybe you were supposed to be hers." That evening, as Liam dozed in his chair, Rhea's fingers twitched against the white hospital sheets. Her breathing changed, became less deep and more aware. Slowly, carefully, her eyes began to flutter open. The first thing she saw was the human man sleeping beside her bed, his hand resting near hers on the blanket. The same kind eyes that had looked down at her on the street. The same gentle voice that had promised not to leave. And he hadn't left. He was still there. For the first time since arriving on Earth, Rhea felt something she'd almost forgotten existed: hope. Rhea's voice came out as barely a whisper, scratchy from days of unconsciousness. You're Still here, Liam's eyes snapped open instantly, and she watched wonder spread across his weathered features. "Hey there," he said softly, the same gentle tone he'd used when she was bleeding on the asphalt. "How are you feeling?" She tried to sit up and immediately regretted it as pain lanced through her back. Liam was on his feet in an instant, steady hands helping ease her back against the pillows without quite touching her skin. "Easy," he murmured. "You've been through hell. The doctors say you need to take it slow." Rhea studied his face, the stubbled jaw, the tired eyes that held no judgment or disgust, only concern. On her home world, she would have been surrounded by family, by her pod sisters singing healing songs. Here, she had expected to wake up alone. If she woke up at all, why? The question escaped before she could stop it. "Why did you help me?" Liam settled back into his chair, the same plastic monstrosity he'd been sleeping in for days. She realized his work clothes were rumpled and stained with her blue blood, and he smelled faintly of motor oil and hospital disinfectant. "Because you needed someone," he said simply, "and I was there, but I'm—" She gestured weakly at her blue skin, her golden hair. "I'm not human. Your people made it very clear that I don't belong here." Something dark flickered across Liam's expression. "Not all of us feel that way. Some of us remember what it's like to need help and have nowhere to turn." Over the next few days, as Dr. Martinez gradually reduced her pain medication and began physical therapy assessments, Rhea learned pieces of Liam's story. He'd grown up in foster care after his parents died in a car accident, aged out of the system at 18 with nothing but a high school diploma and calloused hands, built his life from spare parts and determination, working his way up from oil changes to running his own small auto repair shop. "I know what it's like to be unwanted," he said one afternoon as he helped her practice sitting up without assistance. His hands were gentle but strong, supporting her back as she struggled with muscles that had forgotten how to work. "Maybe not the same way you do, but I get it. The system failed you too," she observed, studying the way his jaw tightened. "The system fails a lot of people. Doesn't mean we have to fail each other." Physical therapy was brutal. Dr. Martinez had been cautiously optimistic about her spinal recovery, but every movement sent lightning through her nervous system. Liam was there for every session, holding her hand when the pain made her cry out, celebrating tiny victories like wiggling her toes or taking 3 steps with a walker. "I used a dance," she confided one evening as he helped stretch her legs, his touch clinical and careful, on Velener, before the war. "My pod sisters and I would perform the Spiral of Seasons at the harvest festivals." What was it like? His hands stilled on her ankle. "Your world, I mean." Rhea's eyes grew distant, beautiful. "The cities grew from living crystal that sang in harmony with the wind. Our skin changes color with the seasons, deeper blue in winter, almost silver in summer. And the festivals," she smiled sadly. "We would dance for 3 days straight, celebrating the connections between all living things." It sounds amazing. It was, until the hegemony decided our resources were worth more than our lives. Her voice hardened. "They glassed the planet, turned our crystal cities to radioactive sand. Those of us who escaped," she shrugged, "we scattered across the galaxy like refugees everywhere." Liam's hands resumed their gentle massage of her calf muscles. "I'm sorry, that's not right." "No, it's not. But it's done." She watched him work, noting the concentration on his face, the way he was so careful not to cause her pain. "Why aren't you afraid of me?" He looked up, surprised. "Afraid? Why would I be afraid?" "Because I'm different. Because your media says aliens are dangerous, that we carry diseases, that we're here to take human jobs and corrupt human culture." She'd heard all the arguments during her few weeks on Earth. "That's bullshit propaganda," Liam said bluntly. "You're not dangerous. You're just you." His eyes met hers. "And you're beautiful." Heat flooded Rhea's blue cheeks. No human had ever called her beautiful before. Most humans looked at her like she was a curiosity at best, a threat at worst. "You don't mean that." "I do." His voice was quiet, but certain. "Your skin is like moonlight on water. And your hair." He reached out hesitantly, then stopped himself. "Sorry, I shouldn't." "It's okay." Rhea's heart hammered against her ribs. "You can touch it. If you want." With infinite care, Liam reached out and ran his fingers through a strand of her golden curls. It was softer than silk, warm against his work-roughened skin. Rhea closed her eyes and leaned into the touch, starved for gentle contact after so much fear and pain. "It's like touching starlight," he murmured when she opened her eyes. His face was closer than before. She could see the flecks of gold in his brown eyes, could feel the warmth radiating from his skin. Neither of them moved for a long moment, suspended in that space between friendship and something more dangerous. "Liam," she whispered. "Yeah, thank you for seeing me as more than just an alien." His thumb traced along her cheekbone, following the delicate bone structure that was so similar to human features yet subtly different. "Thank you for letting me." That night, after the nurses had finished their rounds and the hospital settled into quiet darkness, Rhea lay awake thinking about the gentleness in Liam's touch, the way he looked at her like she was precious instead of foreign. For the first time since fleeing her dying world, she felt the stirring of something beyond mere survival. She felt hope, and something else, something warm and frightening and wonderful that she was almost afraid to name. In the chair beside her bed, Liam dozed fitfully, his hand resting on the blanket near hers, close enough to touch, but careful not to presume. Even in sleep, he was protecting her space while promising he wouldn't leave. Rhea smiled and let her fingers brush against his. Tomorrow she would take her first real steps. Tomorrow she would be one day closer to leaving this place and figuring out what came next. But tonight, she was exactly where she belonged. "You don't have to do this," Rhea said for the 10th time as Liam helped her out of his pickup truck. Her legs were still unsteady, but she could walk now with only a cane for balance. The physical therapy had worked miracles, though Dr. Martinez warned she'd always have some weakness. "Yes, I do." Liam's arm steadied her as they approached his small apartment above the auto shop. "You have nowhere else to go, and you're not ready to live alone yet. Besides," he added with a grin, "I make excellent scrambled eggs." The apartment was modest but clean, with mismatched furniture and engine parts scattered on every available surface. Rhea looked around at the chaos that somehow felt more welcoming than any of the sterile shelters she'd tried to access. "It's not much," Liam said, suddenly self-conscious. "I know it's not what you're used to." "It's perfect," and she meant it. The space smelled like motor oil and coffee, lived in and real. "Thank you, Liam, for everything." Their first week together was a careful dance of boundaries and growing familiarity. Liam gave her his bedroom and slept on the couch, despite her protests. He cooked meals that wouldn't upset her alien digestive system, researching Velinari dietary needs online and adapting human recipes. She helped where she could, organizing his chaotic paperwork and mending his worn work clothes with techniques from her home world. "Your stitching is incredible," he said one evening, examining a torn shirt she'd repaired. The seam was nearly invisible, reinforced with a traditional Velinari weaving pattern. "It's like art. My pod sister taught me. We were expected to be self-sufficient." Rhea flexed her fingers, still getting used to fine motor control after the accident. "She would have liked you, I think. Kira always said the best people are the ones who help without expecting anything in return." "What happened to her?" Rhea's hands stilled. "She didn't make it to the evacuation ships. None of my pod sisters did." She looked up, tears threatening. "Sometimes I feel so guilty for surviving when they didn't." Liam set down the shirt and moved closer, his presence warm and comforting. "Survivor's guilt is normal. It doesn't mean you don't deserve to be here." "How can you be so sure?" "Because I see who you are. You're kind, intelligent, brave. Any universe that has you in it is better for it." The moment stretched between them, charged with unspoken feelings. Rhea looked into his eyes and saw something that made her breath catch, not just kindness, but desire, want, the same pull she'd been feeling, growing stronger each day they spent together. "Liam," she whispered. Before she could finish the thought, his phone buzzed with a news alert. The spell broke as he glanced at the screen, and his expression shifted to something between surprise and concern. "What is it?" "Someone at the hospital talked to a reporter. About us. About what happened." He showed her the headline, "Human Hero Saves Alien Life. Love Blooms in Hospital Room." Rhea felt ice form in her stomach. They know about me. It's not just that they know. Look. He scrolled through the comments section, his face grim. Alien lover, species traitor, send them both back where they came from. But then he found others. This is what humanity should be. Finally, someone with compassion. Love has no species. They're going to come for me, Rhea said. Quietly, immigration, deportation officers, no. Liam's voice was firm. I won't let that happen. You can't stop the government, Liam. You're just one person. Maybe. But I'm one person who loves you. The words hung in the air between them. Rhea stared at him, golden curls framing her face as she processed what he'd said. Love. He'd said it so simply, like it was the most natural thing in the world. You love me? She whispered. Of course I do. How could I not? He stepped closer, his hands framing her face with the same gentleness he'd shown since that first day. You're brilliant and brave and beautiful, and you make me want to be better than I am. I'm an alien. Different species, different world. So what? My heart doesn't care about biology. His thumb traced her cheekbone. I love your curiosity. About everything human. I love the way you hum Vilinari songs when you think I'm not listening. I love how you take care of everyone around you even when you're the one who needs help. Tears spilled down Rhea's blue cheeks. I love you too. I've been afraid to say it because you thought I'd leave like everyone else. She nodded, unable to speak. Never. Liam's forehead touched hers. I told you that first day I wasn't leaving. I meant it. When he kissed her, it was soft and careful, asking permission with every movement. Rhea melted into him, her hands fisting in his work shirt as she kissed him back with all the longing she'd been holding inside. He tasted like coffee and hope, like safety and home. They broke apart breathless, and Rhea saw her own wonder reflected in his eyes. The whole world might be against us. She said softly, let them come. Liam's arms tightened around her. We'll face it together. Outside, protesters had begun gathering on the street below, some supporting their unlikely love story, others demanding Rhea's deportation. News vans lined the block, reporters shouting questions at anyone who entered or left the building. But inside the small apartment above the auto shop, two hearts that had found each other across the vastness of space held tight and refused to let the universe tear them apart. Stay with me tonight? Rhea asked, her voice barely a whisper. Are you? Sure. Instead of answering with words, she took his hand and led him toward the bedroom, ready to show him exactly how sure she was. The world outside could rage and threaten all it wanted. Tonight, they belonged only to each other, whatever happens. Tomorrow, she said as he closed the door behind them. I want you to know that you saved me in every way a person can be saved. You saved me too, he replied, pulling her close. I just didn't know I needed saving until I met you. And as the first snow of winter began to fall outside, covering the protest signs and news vans in pristine white, Liam and Rhea discovered that love truly did have no boundaries, not of species, not of worlds, not of anything that mattered when two souls recognized their perfect match. The morning brought chaos to their doorstep. News vans multiplied like weeds, and protesters filled the street with competing chants. Humanity first, clashed with love wins, while reporters thrust microphones at anyone willing to speak. Rhea pressed against the window, watching the circus below with growing anxiety. They're not going to leave us alone, are they? Liam wrapped his arms around her from behind, his chin resting on her shoulder. Probably not. The question is, what do we want to do about it? We could run. Find somewhere remote where no one knows us. We could. His voice was carefully neutral. Is that what you want? Rhea leaned back against his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. Last night had been perfect, tender and passionate, to beings learning each other's bodies, and souls with infinite care. They'd made love with the desperate intensity of those who know their time might be limited, and she'd never felt more complete. No, she said finally, running means they win. It means other aliens like me will keep suffering alone. So we stay and fight. We stay and love loudly. She turned in his arms, determination blazing in her violet eyes. If our story is going to be public anyway, let's make sure it's the right story. The knock on the door came at noon. Rhea's heart sank when she saw the official uniforms through the peephole immigration. and customs enforcement, flanked by local police. Ms. Rhea of Vellner, the lead officer, said when Liam opened the door, "You're under arrest for unlawful presence in United States territory. She has asylum claims pending," Liam said firmly, though they both knew it was a lie. Rhea had never been able to afford the legal fees for proper documentation. "Step aside, sir. Don't make this harder than it needs to be." That's when the crowd outside erupted. Supporters who had been watching the building rushed forward, forming a human chain between the officers and the apartment entrance. "Leave them alone," someone shouted. "They're not hurting anyone." The standoff lasted 3 hours. Rhea watched from the window as more people arrived, some hostile, demanding her deportation, but many others carrying signs reading "Love is universal" and "Liam and Rhea represent hope." Dr. Martinez appeared in the crowd, still in his hospital scrubs. Nurse Patricia stood beside him, along with other staff members who had witnessed their story firsthand. Even some of Liam's customers had come, gruff mechanics and worried car owners who'd been touched by the tale of the man who wouldn't abandon a stranger. "They're here for us," Rhea breathed, tears streaming down her blue cheeks. "They're here for what we represent," Liam corrected. "The idea that love can cross any boundary." The situation changed when Congresswoman Elena Valdez arrived. The civil rights advocate had been following their story, and she strode through the crowd with the confidence of someone accustomed to fighting systemic injustice. "Officer Williams," she addressed the lead ICE agent, "I'm here to inform you that as of this morning, Ms. Rhea has been granted emergency protected status while her formal asylum application is processed. You'll find the paperwork in order." The officer's face darkened. "Ma'am, I don't see how, because I sponsored it personally." Valdez's smile was razor sharp. Amazing what public attention can accomplish when the right people are watching. As the officers reluctantly withdrew, the crowd cheered. Rhea felt Liam's hand squeeze hers, and she realized they'd won more than just a temporary reprieve. They'd won something bigger. "We need to talk to them," she said, gesturing to the reporters still clamoring for interviews. "Are you sure? Once we speak publicly, there's no going back." "I'm sure." Rhea straightened her shoulders. "They want our story. Let's give them our story." The impromptu press conference happened on the sidewalk, with Liam's arm around Rhea's waist and their supporters, forming a protective circle around them. The questions came fast and aggressive. "Do you really think humans and aliens can have romantic relationships? What do you say to people who call this an abomination? Are you planning to have children together?" Rhea answered with quiet dignity. "Love isn't about species or planets of origin. It's about two souls recognizing each other and choosing to build something beautiful together." Liam saw me as a person worth saving when everyone else saw me as disposable. "That's not alien love or human love, that's just love. The universe is vast and full of wonders." Liam added, "Meeting Rhea taught me that those wonders include each other. If we can't show compassion to beings who are different from us, how can we call ourselves civilized?" The video went viral within hours. #Liam and Rhea trended globally, sparking conversations about immigration, interspecies relations, and the nature of love itself. Some responses were hateful, but many more were supportive. Other mixed couples, human and alien, began sharing their own stories. Policymakers found themselves forced to address the growing movement for alien rights. 6 months later, Rhea stood in the same hospital where she'd nearly died, but now she wore a crisp white coat over her blue skin. Dr. Martinez had sponsored her medical license transfer, and she'd become the first veterinary physician officially practicing in the United States. "Ready for your first surgery?" Liam asked, adjusting her collar with the same gentle care he'd shown since that first day. "Ready." She smiled at him, golden hair pinned back in a professional bun. "Though I'm nervous about the patient, you'll be fine. You've got the best hands in the galaxy." The patient was a young Andromedan child whose parents had been afraid to bring him to a human hospital. Word had spread through the alien community that Metro General was now a safe place, that there was a doctor there who understood what it meant to be different and afraid. As Rhea scrubbed in, she thought about the long path that had brought her here. The accident that had nearly killed her had instead given her everything she'd never dared hope for: love, purpose, belonging, and the chance to bridge the gap between worlds. The surgery was successful. The child's parents wept with gratitude as Rhea explained his prognosis in their native language. Later, as she and Liam walked home through streets where mixed couples now walked openly, protesters had been replaced by supporters, and sanctuary. City signs hung in shop windows. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. Getting involved with someone so complicated. Liam stopped walking and pulled her close. Right there on the sidewalk where their story had begun. "Never. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, even though loving me changed your whole life. Especially because of that." He kissed her softly, and she could taste the promise of forever on his lips. "Besides, I'm pretty sure you're the one who changed everything. I just got to be there for the ride." Around them, the city hummed with life, human and alien, native and immigrant, all learning to coexist in the tapestry of tomorrow. And at the center of it all, two hearts that had found each other in the darkness continued to beat in perfect synchronization. Proof that love truly was the strongest force in any universe. Their story had begun with a truck, a collision, and a choice to stay when everyone else walked away. It would end with wedding bells, children who were both human and Villinari, and a legacy of compassion that would outlive them both. But that night, as they curled together in their bed above the auto shop, listening to the sounds of a world slowly, learning to love without boundaries, Rhea and Liam were content to simply be present in the perfect moment they had created together. Love had won, and the universe was forever changed.